Hello, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives by DGMC, an exclusive podcast series where wisdom meets aspiration. I am Sanman Hudgikar, the podcaster. Today, we shall be listening about a department mostly seen through the lens of paperwork and numbers, but it is the department that actually fuels the heartbeat of our nation's development. We are honored to have with us Mr. Vikram Sahay, an IRS officer of the 1992 batch and the current Chief Commissioner of Income Tax Department for Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. With a career spanning over 3 decades, from Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to the high ranges of Ladakh, Mr. Sahay has built a reputation for bridging the gap between taxman and the taxpayer. Today, we are going to understand the department and the unique challenges in India's most breathtaking yet complex systems. Sir, welcome to the podcast and thank you so much for giving us time.
I'm privileged to be here.
So, sir, today I think this is the first time that we are having an IRS officer on the show. So, sir, my first question to you is before we get into the podcast and before we understand the overall mechanism of IRS and also the income tax department, I would like to ask you to tell us a little about your UPSC journey and how it all started and what made you end up in the Indian Revenue Services.
Well, it started sometime when I was in masters, and in Delhi University, I was doing my graduation and then my masters in economics, and that was the time we were then trying to decide as to what to choose, what career to go progress for. And there was an environment at my own house. My uncles and others, they were in the civil services. Some were IPS officers, some in the railways, some of my cousins who were in the revenue service. And I could see the way they contributed in their own ways in the society, and they were relevant for the society. And so that really hit me and felt, well, uh, why don't I also try to get into the services and contribute in whichever way I can. And that was the time we embarked upon the journey of giving the civil service exam. Of course, I was fortunate. We had a lot of students around us in Delhi University who were giving the civil service exam. So that environment was already there. And then we got into it. And then after the journey started and joined the civil services.
So was revenue services always your dream, or you had planned for something else and then you ended up finding more interest towards finances and then you joined revenue services?
You see, the exam is a common exam. The civil service is a common exam for various Group A services and Group B services. From the IAS to the foreign service to the police service to the revenue service to the railway services. It's a common exam, and depending upon your liking and depending on your rank, you get a particular service. So I did opt for revenue service over some other services, and because I felt this is a service where you are relevant in terms of the work which you're doing throughout your career. It is not that you do it for intensive for the first 10 years and then after that you're actually on the field and doing the job at hand, even at this as Chief Commissioner of Income Tax as well. So that was the reason why I preferred revenue service over other services. And based on my ranking, I got the service. And once I was here, I was thoroughly enjoying it.
So UPSC is obviously not the same what it was at your time. Now today on an average, it's very popularly said that we have over 10 lakh candidates applying every year, but the vacancies is hardly 1,000, which is less than 0.1% if we see. So how have you seen this exam change, and what was it during your times and what is it today?
You see, during our times, around 2.35 or 2.52 or 3 lakh people were applying for because you have three levels of the exam. You have a prelims, then you have the mains, and then you have interview. Prelims is essentially for elimination, and then you sit for the mains. So even today, 10,000 students would sit for the main exams. And prelims, today there could be 7 lakhs or 10 lakh students who are giving the preliminary exam. And then you have 10,000 students for the written exam. And even during our times, the class Group A services were around 700 posts. Even today, it is 700 posts. So that has not much changed. But the question pattern has changed. But the best part about the civil service exam is that your minimum qualification is only a graduation. And that enables a large section of the youth to be eligible and therefore to aspire to become a civil servant.
Hmm.
And cutting across barriers of society, of caste, of creed, of economic barriers. So that is the best part. It is democratized entire the concept of giving civil service. Anybody can give a civil service.
Hmm.
So that and what has remained intact is the credibility of the examination,
Hmm.
the credibility, the neutrality, and impartiality. Nobody has ever tried to question uh, the the standards of the civil service exam. It's been there for ages now.
Hmm.
So that remains intact even during then and even today.
You mentioned about how you had an environment in Delhi University, and even today, I think so. This is a pattern that there are a lot of students. Delhi is a center for civil services, and even in Bihar, there are a lot of people who come a lot from even South India and Orissa and Bengal. But Mumbai, I don't see a lot of people having UPSC craze. There are, but it's very few. And you've got recently a posting in Mumbai, so how do you see this? Do you think that across the country equally students should be aspiring for UPSC, or how do you see this?
See, it is nothing that you should aspire for UPSC. It is your own upbringing and what you want to do in life. And maybe the choices today are much more wider than what the choices were then. And it all depends upon from where you have come and what you want to become. So there is nothing wrong if somebody doesn't want to give civil services. If somebody wants to become a doctor, somebody wants to become a lawyer, somebody wants to become a podcaster, somebody wants to be in the profession in cinema, that is as important in terms of contributing to society as a civil servant. So, but yes, you're right to say that many people from Maharashtra may not be opting in terms of percentages, vis-a-vis somebody who's coming from Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or Bengal or Andhra Pradesh. So it all depends upon how you have grown and what you have perceived and what you see as your future.
Okay. So there are also a few students, who have been trying for like the past 4 5 years, and maybe people, go on giving attempts till the time they do not exhaust their limits, or they are out of the age limit. So is there something that you would like to advise to such students, sir, that keep trying, or what would be your take that if not this, try something else, but move on in life, and how would you address
See,
that?
I think that is a very important point because it's a full year of a cycle. From the prelims to the final results, it takes 1 year. And after 1 year, you have not qualified, it becomes a 0 year for you. And then you again go to the next year. So from one prelims to the next prelims is 1 year. So it can be very discouraging. It can be very distressing for students who go through the cycle. All of us have gone through it. It's not that I got through the first attempt, I got in a later attempt. But it is important that you, at least by the second attempt, you assess yourself. Parental pressure or peer pressure should not be the guiding force. Just because 4 of my friends are giving civil services, therefore I should also give, or my parents are saying that I should give a civil service. No. You assess yourself in terms of you have given your prelims once, you've given it twice, or mains twice. You assess yourself where you are. And you think, well, I was on the border, this time I can do it. I have to crack this area or I have to strengthen that area. Then you are confident you can do it. I mean, if I gave the number of attempts, because I was quite certain and I was quite sure that I can do it. It's just a matter of luck, a matter of doing this area, strengthening this area or that. So that is very important. A self-assessment of where you are in terms of the competition. And you said 10 lakh people applying for 10,000 people appearing for the mains. So you need to assess yourself. I mean, it's applicable even for somebody who's giving IIT or medical.
True.
There's no point in giving it for 3 years and you're not scoring even 20 percentage points below. Then you say, I'm not meant for this. There's so many things in life to do. You can do that.
I think every UPSC aspirant must either in life meet a actual officer, or maybe listen to podcasts or interviews of officers like you who have the experience, who can guide them, because I think at this age guidance and that clarity is really important. So thank you so much, sir, for
And
this.
also important, I think something very important for the youth and for all of you. Today, government has opened great opportunities for lateral entry. So even if you are a professional, you're an engineer, you're a scientist. Maybe 10 years down the line, you will get an opportunity to join the government for 4 years, 5 years, and maybe you can carry on. So nothing is lost if you don't join the civil services at the age of 25. You become a scientist after 10 years, you are sitting in some of the ministry. And I have seen people at the level of joint secretary, at the level of director, who have laterally gone and worked in the ministry. So if you really desire to work for the government, opportunities can come maybe 10 years later, 15 years later.
True. Okay. So, sir, when people hear income tax officer, it's they often imagine very strict and a serious job. So, can you tell us, because you're in the job, can you tell us the reality of this profession?
See, the reality is that, paying tax is an unpopular thing. If you ask somebody, will you pay tax? They said, why should I pay tax? It's difficult to convince people that take out something from your pocket and give it to the society. It is not that easy. And therefore, we are working under a statute, on a parliamentary act of Parliament of 1961. And we are here to convince people as to why you should pay taxes and why it's necessary for you to pay taxes. And it's not easy to convince. Convince, cajole, educate, especially the youth. Because generally the feeling is, what is the government doing for me? Why should I pay taxes? That is a general feeling which has come up. I can elaborate on that later on. But therefore, for us to balance the obligation which has been placed upon us as government servants and as a tax man, and to convince the person that why he should pay the tax and pay taxes as per law, is that balance has to be made. And therefore, it is in that balance that we have to be very, very professional in our approach.
Are income tax officers in some kind of pressure when it comes to the number of people paying income taxes, or is there some kind of a mechanism that?
Usually we have our own targets. We have a targets of physical financial targets to meet in the year, that number of taxpayers, amount of budget to be collected. So that type of target, which is a micro target from the top to the bottom, the targets are prepared. And every year we have to follow that target, how much of advance tax is getting collected, how much of self-assessment is getting collected, how many taxpayers are going up, all that. We have certain targets and we work towards a target. We do a quarterly planning or a 6-monthly planning, and that is how we progress. So that target's always, and it's always good to have a target, and it's there even in corporates, that you have targets of certain parameters which you want to achieve. So we also have certain targets, and we work towards those targets.
So, but when you mention about targets, like if I am in a sales job, I have to sell something, right? So maybe I can try convincing 10 people to buy this from me. But income tax is reverse. Like, how do you convince someone to, give a part of their income to you? So are there some initiatives that the income tax department takes?
Absolutely. We do a lot of outreach programs the last few years. I mean, I was in Kashmir, and for a year, I was posted in Kashmir for a year. And we did several outreach programs, educating people, convincing them, and why they have to pay taxes, and why these taxes which you pay are helpful to yourself. So, because there is an element of tax, low literacy, I would say. I'm not saying illiteracy, there's a low literacy. People are not really convinced, and people really do not know how to go about it even if they want to pay taxes. So, it has been a campaign, all India campaign, to improve literacy and to tell people, impress upon them.
Okay. So with a career of 30 plus years, you've worked across departments and, in various cities and states. So which posting is, I would not call it your favorite, but which is that posting which has taught you a lot?
Well, I had the opportunity to work in the Ministry of Education in the Government of India. That was Ministry of HRD, it was called, Human Resource Development, between 2007 to 2014, and the University Grants Commission. So, I mean, I've worked in various positions within the income tax department, outside the department, but education was one area where you could feel the impact in terms of numbers. The number of children, the number of teachers, the number of students which is getting impacted by your interventions, by your initiatives, and by the way of implementing certain programs. That number is so remarkable. It cannot match any other number in terms of impact. So it was very challenging, but I must say that was the most enjoyable time I spent. and very satisfying.
Okay. So, what roles should income tax ideally play, especially in a country like India, wherein we are on record, I would say 140 crores. So, what role should it play? But what do you think is ideally, slightly wrong?
You see, why do we pay taxes? We pay taxes because we are diverting resources from private hands to the public hand. Public, I mean government. And why does government raise taxes? Government raises taxes because government has various obligations towards the people. This is the welfare state. India is a welfare state. So you have obligations towards people who are not that privileged and who probably do not have that capacity to do everything on their own, whether in terms of housing or in terms of food security and etc. So it becomes a matter of social responsibility for certain sections of the society who are better off, so to say, because income tax is a progressive tax, which means the more you earn, the more you pay.
Mm.
It's like that. So if you're richer, you pay more. If you're not as rich, you pay less. It's a progressive tax depending on the ability to pay. So it is matter of social responsibility that you also take care as a society of others who are not that privileged. So to that extent, that balancing between while you're earning, you pay and help in contribution towards others. So that is what it has to be, and that is how it has. I mean, there can be a few inefficiencies here and there, but that has been the primary way in which we have gone about.
Okay. So since you started your career, there was nothing called as social media, and the way India, or rather the entire world, has grown after the advent of internet and digital technologies. So today, we live in the world of Instagram and Reels. So I'm sure, if you ever open Instagram or maybe YouTube or Facebook for that matter, so sometimes your feed is full with people who are tax advisors, or who give you a lot of information about how to invest, how to manage your finances and stuff like that. So in the age of these online tax consultants and advisors today, how can a common person make sure that he or she is taking right advice about the tax? So what would be your suggestion to them?
I mean, this is a problem in the sense that courtesy the information sort of flooding
Hmm.
through the social media, anybody and everybody thinks he's an expert.
Hmm.
And there could be also people who may portray to be experts but they're not experts, so
Hmm.
it's not an easy choice for people to make. But I would say that if I am staying in a place like I'm staying in a place like Mumbai, or in a small place like Srinagar, I would first approach my own income tax officer and seek suggestions from him as to who are the best people who can advise me,
Hmm.
rather than just be getting impressions from the social media. But on the same side, what the government has done, government has also tried to simplify a lot of procedures. You can sit at home and file your returns,
Hmm.
pay your taxes, file your returns, and be done with that.
Hmm.
So in a way, government is also trying to ensure that you, as an individual, did not have to go to tax advisors, because the form itself is almost like a pre-filled form. If you are earning salary, the form will show your salary.
Hmm.
So it's trying to eliminate the possibility or reduce the possibility of you seeking advice. But were you to seek advice, the best people would be some of the chartered accountants who are there in the local area. There are people who are registered with the government, or sort of authorized representatives. They are the people to be contacted, and the department can help in that.
Hmm. So today, many young people in their mid 20s or 30s are moving towards freelancing, starting their own businesses and startups. So, and this is happening at a very early age. In my parents' generation and maybe your generation, a lot of people thought, ki, as soon as you're done with education, you work with someone, learn a few things, and then maybe take the risk of starting your own business or doing something. But these days, the current generation, it's very much, they are very keen as soon as they are out of college, and a lot of people while they are in college are starting up their own startups and this. So what is what are the few things that these people should know about taxes, the young entrepreneurs?
You see, this is a very encouraging trend, I must say that, and I also know a lot of people in my family and people, friends, children, who have embarked upon the journey of starting a startup, which is a very brave thing to do. But then they are ambitious. This is an aspirational India. So it's so good that people are trying to do that. That you are a job creator than a job seeker. I mean, that itself is a big change which in India is happening in the last 1 decade. And the government realizes that we have within the government you have a separate cell which looks at startups, which are encouraging startups. If you look at tax statute, we have particular provisions encouraging startups, giving them tax incentives, giving them tax breaks. So that is a very encouraging sign. But at the same time, whether you are making money out of a startup or making money out of any other place, you have your responsibility towards paying taxes. So that responsibility will still remain. Of course, you have these incentives, but the responsibility of paying taxes would remain.
Okay. So you've worked across different cities in India. Which is, if I may ask, one of your favorite places in the country? Which posting you've enjoyed the most in terms of nature, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the people that you found there?
See, I had 2 stints in 2 very diverse places. One was in Northeast. I was posted for about 3 years in Guwahati, which meant that entire Northeast. Another was little less than a year in Kashmir. I think these two were the most enjoyable and the most humbling and the greatest learning which I could get. The cultural assimilation which happened for me, living amongst them, knowing their food habits, knowing their culture, knowing their language, and sitting around with them was a great learning experience. Otherwise, we think this is what India is. But if you go there and sit with them, it's an absolute pleasure and a great opportunity which I got. Not many people get this opportunity to work in these two very diverse and most beautiful people of this country, both from Kashmir and Northeast.
Okay. So the way you mentioned about earlier that a lot of people know that they have to pay taxes, but they think that why should I pay the taxes, and they maybe just strayed away from that responsibility. So even in this online culture, so the way we spoke about Instagram and reels, a lot of people whenever they see poor public services, may it be bridges or any other commuting problems or any public sector issue, they create content on that. They speak that this is where our tax paying money is going, this is what has been happening. Maybe it can also be a few government irresponsible government spends, I would say. So people call out these things since social media is out. And at the same time, we also see arguments about how people lack civic senses. Recently we had Vande Bharat sleeper coach coming out, but there was news about how people threw waste things there in that compartment, how they made it dirty after the very first round. So it's a two-way thing. So how do you see this issue, sir, and where do you see the actual responsibility lies?
See, it's pretty natural for people to think that why should I pay taxes, and especially if they feel that, uh, or they feel that what am I getting out of that? If I'm not getting back anything, why should I pay it? Now there are two aspects to it. The first aspect is, as I said earlier, you are paying taxes because you are privileged and you have the ability to pay taxes, and that privilege is only for 5% of the individuals in this country. 5%, not more than that. So you are a privileged person, maybe because of your background, maybe because of your abilities, maybe because of various other reasons. It could be your own hard work, but you are a privileged member of the society. And as a privileged member of the society, uh, it becomes a part of your social responsibility to also take care of people who probably did not have that privilege which you had in your upbringing or in your the way you grew. So it is for the government and it's for the civil society to convince that okay, you're earning 100 rupees, take out 20 rupees, give it for the welfare of those people, some of whom may be working at your own house, but they were never so privileged to get a quality education or the quality health services, or the parents were not that educated to sit with their homeworks. So that is one aspect. And then you don't feel it, okay, I'm doing it for somebody, then you don't really bother. Other aspect is that some of the services, some of the what government is doing for you may not get directly known to you. The entire defense, who pays for the defense of this country? Who pays to protect from external aggression? It is the government, it's your taxes which are paying. Who takes care of law and order in the country? The police. You feel secured and safe in a city like Bombay because there is somebody, is an invisible thing which is taking care of that. But we don't realize it because it is not around you. But there is a psychological security. Somebody is paying for it. That money is coming from there. Okay, there could be issues of the infrastructure not being the top class. But then you have the best of the roads. Today, if you see the national highways of this country, they are comparable to anywhere in the world. If you go across, one of course is this Bombay-Pune highway, but you go across the country, the Golden Quadrilateral, the railways, it has improved, the airways, the waterways. There's so many public amenities which we are probably not realizing. Environmental protection. So these are the things which are coming out from the government's efforts. You may, of course, question that it could have been better. That, of course, is there. But that is again coming from the taxes which you pay and which you are actually consuming as a taxpayer and as a consumer of those benefits. But as I said, if civic amenities are not that good or people are questioning it, it's also our responsibility as citizens to participate. It has to be a participative exercise. You cannot expect government to do everything.
True. Okay. So we have a small rapid fire round, which is a part of our show. So whatever comes to your mind first, or you can answer it in one word or however is comfortable. So what would you choose? Digital technologies or traditional paperwork?
I would go for digital technology, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early morning work or late night work?
Well, as a student, I used to study till late and wake up around 7. I used to study till 1 o'clock and wake up at 7. But it depends upon your own lifestyle and what are you doing during the day. If you're a student, I would say study till late, wake up early morning, go to your classes. Rather than bunk classes.
Which our students
rather
don't do.
Than bunk classes.
Okay. One word to describe Indian taxpayers?
They are matured, sensible.
Okay. One quality every government officer should have?
Not one, several. One is empathy. Sensitive.
Okay.
These are the two important. And that is, sadly, I feel there are some missing elements here.
A book that has influenced you?
Well, recently I just finished a book by Mr. Shashi Tharoor. It's called The Battle of Belongings. It's on what nationalism is and what Indian nationalism is. I mean, I think if I get an opportunity to meet Mr. Shashi Tharoor, I would tell him, write a book, a textbook on nationalism. It is important for the young generation. Those who did not have the privilege of their parents telling them stories about freedom movement and how we got this freedom and what nationalism really means. It is very important because when we were young, our parents were around the time when the independence took place and all those things happened. And they have seen the churning and they have seen the way this country has progressed. For this generation, they have seen it as taken for granted. So they require to read a bit of nationalism, and nobody else better than Mr. Shashi Tharoor, having read his book. Yeah.
Okay. If your favorite way to relax after a busy day?
Spend time with family.
Okay.
And watch some good Hindi film or web series.
Okay. Are you interested in sports or some unique?
Absolutely. I'm a great cricket buff. I've played cricket for a very long time. As a revenue service officer for my team for 10-15 years. Other day was Wankhede watching the semi-finals between India and England. So cricket crazy.
Okay. So if you were not an IRS officer, what other profession would you have chosen?
Undoubtedly a teacher.
A teacher?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You see, you have ways to contribute. There is no better way to contribute than a teacher. My younger daughter, when I think she was in sixth or seventh, one day she came back and she told me that, Dad, there are the two noblest professions are that of a doctor and a teacher. The doctor saves life, the teacher makes life.
Hmm.
I did not have my biology was not so strong to become a doctor, but definitely I would have been a teacher. In fact, I started my career as a teacher
Oh,
before I joined the civil services.
so is there any other department or some section of the government, or maybe even not just government, some private sector that you still aspire to work for?
As I said, I would. I mean, I would like to be in the education sector.
Again,
That is somewhere which my soul is, my heart is,
okay, okay. And that brings us to the
and
last
that is the
question.
reason why I'm in this educational institution today.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. So, lastly, sir, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to all the students who are listening to our podcast today?
Well, chase your dreams, be grounded, be sensitive, but also realize and also understand that this country, which we have earned our independence, we have earned our nationalism, which is called what we call it the civic nationalism, what we call it. It is a country with unity and diversity. We need to respect that diversity and we need to strengthen our unity. While we pursue our dreams and aspirations, these are the core values why we are as India, as one country. So our identity is Vikram Sahay, and next is I'm an Indian. There's no other identity I should have. And as long as I do that, and as long as everybody does that, especially because the future lies with the youth, we need to diminish all possibilities of creating divisive tendencies. And for the youth, you seek your employment, you become a job creator, you do everything. But the fabric of the country, that needs to be strengthened. And that is why I say everybody should have a lesson or a treatise of nationalism and where we are and where we are going. Because if you do not know where you came from, you cannot appreciate what you're trying to do.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views. And I must say that it's not just me, but all those people who listen to this episode will, their perspective about tax and income tax as a department will surely change. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Perspectives by DGMC. We hope that today's conversation left you inspired and informed. A big thank you to you, sir, for
Thank you
sharing
very
your
much. It's a real
valuable
privilege.
insights,
Thank you
and
so
to
much.
all our listeners for tuning in. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember that every perspective has the power to shape your journey. This is Sanman Udgikar signing off for today. Stay curious, stay connected. Thank you.